Hey everyone, this is David, and I wanted to go over a few exercises for shoulders. I see a lot of people asking about what do I do about my shoulders. I've had a shoulder dislocation, I've had rotator cuff surgery, or I'm going for rotator cuff surgery. And so, what are the issues pertaining to the shoulder? Why is it such a challenging joint, and why do we have so many problems with it? Well, the number one issue with the shoulder is that the greater the mobility, right, the more range of motion I have in the shoulder itself, the greater the mobility, the less the stability, right? So the greater range of motion I have, the more movement I have inside the shoulder joint, then the less stability I have, which really means that you have to work a lot harder, be a lot more attentive to things like posture. So quite often when I'm assessing people, what I'll see, of course, is tightness of the pectoralis. So the chest muscles are tight. The anterior portion of the shoulder is tight. So the front of the shoulder is too tight. And what would that do to the actual shoulder itself? So as this contracts, it pulls me forward. And how much of our posture here is forward? So quite often, front of the shoulder is tight, the pec is tight. Also, the upper traps are tight. So I'm elevated and I'm protracted, right? So my shoulders go up and my shoulders go forward. And this is the kind of posture I see quite often. Of course, not very helpful because, again, it's pulling the shoulder out of position. So when we look at exercises like external rotation, we look at rotator cuff exercises. So internal, external rotations are exercises that are quite often done. A lot of shoulder mobility movements, lateral raises, these type of movements. And they're all really effective, but there's a sequence that you really should follow. So first of all, one of the things that we really want to focus in on is actually before we actually start trying to strengthen the rotator cuff and the muscles around the shoulder, we actually want to bring the shoulders back into neutral. And how do you do that? Well, part of it's actually, of course, through flexibility. So part of the flexibility work you want to look at is inhibiting or shutting off your upper traps and opening up your chest and shoulders. So inhibiting the upper traps could be something simple as if you have the range of motion, is place one hand behind you, right? So I'm going to rest my hand just on the top of my hips and bring my other hand over top. I'm going to rest it on the side of my head. So from this position here, I'm going to gently let the weight of my arms slowly move my head sideways, right? So when I'm in this position here, again, there's no pain in my neck. And if you have any disc protrusions or any damage to your neck, this is not something you want to do. But if your neck is otherwise healthy, then let the weight of your arm create this lateral shift here. Now I'm going to gently push my head this way as I apply a little bit of pressure in the opposite direction. And so I'm actually going to turn my traps on. So I'm pushing and pulling at the same time. Hold for about 5 seconds and then exhale and relax. You see I get a little bit more range, right? So I get a little bit more movement. And I feel a lot of tension here through my traps and through my other muscles in my neck. I won't go through the names of them because it's not important. Take a deep breath, push and pull at the same time. And again, this is done under lots of control. Exhale and relax. Now I'm going to tilt my head slightly forward. So I'm rotating my chin slightly forward. And same thing, I'm going to push and pull at the same time. Hold for about 5 seconds and relax. And then slowly bring my head back up to neutral. And what you do on one side, you're going to do on the other. So again, gently let the weight of your arm induce the stretch. Right? Now this side feels quite a bit tighter. This is my right side, so it feels quite a bit tighter, which it is because I'm right-handed. So my right hand, my right arm is mainly reaching forward quite a bit, right? Reaching for food, reaching for my avocado, right? So interlace the hand behind your head. And again, let that gentle stretch occur. I feel a lot of tension in through here, a lot of tension through my traps. And again, this is kind of a passive exercise, right? So I'm gently pulling, gently pushing, just so that I can feel these muscles wake up. Hold for 5 seconds, exhale and relax. And relax. Feel lots of tension and more of the back part here. So I'm going to rotate my head slightly forward and same idea. Now the other aspect, of course, is stretching the anterior part of your delt, right? So opening up your chest and shoulders. This could be something as simply as leaning up against a door frame. I'm going to mime it because I don't have a door frame next to me here. But imagine putting your elbow up against the door frame. And I'm going to step my foot forward, right? I'm stepping 1 foot forward. And then I'm going to gently lean into it, right? So again, stepping my right foot forward. I'm gently leaning into it and making sure that the angle that I'm at with my arm allows me to feel the stretch of my chest and shoulder, but I don't feel any pain inside the shoulder joint. So you may actually drop it lower. You may drop the stretch down to here. You come up a little bit higher, or even a little bit higher. So if I'm up here and I'm holding onto my invisible door frame, I feel really good stretch in my pecs. I'm gonna lean into it here, but I'm moving from my hip. So I'm not putting the weight on my arm. And this is really, really important, right? Because I'm leaning on my arm. If I'm putting the weight on my arm, what ends up happening is these muscles contract because they're trying to hold me in place. So I can't use the muscles for stability to hold me up and trying to stretch them simultaneously. It just doesn't work. So hand up, gonna lean into it here. And again, until I feel a little bit of a stretch here, turning from the hip and lean into it. And again, just looking for the stretch along here. And all I'm doing is taking my breath, paying attention to what it is that I feel. And then as I exhale, I'm letting go of the tension in the area that I first felt it. What I do on one side, of course, I do on the other. Now, lastly, when you're looking at exercises, I'll give you two simple exercises to do. And there's many that you can do, but we're going to focus staying below 90 degrees because I know a lot of people just have challenges bringing their arms up overhead. So a lot of people just can't bring their arms up overhead to this position here without some sort of discomfort and potential more risk. But we need to get control of our rotator cuff. We need to be able to stabilize the chest and the shoulder by these muscles in our mid back. So one of the simple exercise, of course, is just using a TheraBand like this, right? Just a cable TheraBand loop. And we're going to do some external rotations, double external rotations. So here's the trick. The trick is not to use your arms here. We're not trying to pull this thing apart. This is the side effect. So soften your knees when standing, tighten your core muscles. So this is your pelvic floor, and tighten your intrinsic muscles. You're going to take a mild grip here. In fact, you can take your thumb out of it, take your thumb out so you're using a bit of a false grip. And we're going to just start this way. We're going to, again, knees soft, core tight. I'm going to gently bring my shoulder blades together first. I'm going to draw my shoulder blades in towards the rib cage and as tight as they can go. And then I'm going to externally rotate. But what I'm doing is keeping my elbows by my side. I'm not opening it up, right? So shoulders back and down, right? Lock it in place. Bring my shoulder blades together first. So I'm focusing on bringing the shoulder blades tightly together. And then lastly, I'm going to give it a little bit more room here. So start here, shoulder blades together first, right? And then a little bit more, a little bit of an extra push from the arms rotating out and in. Shoulder blades first, and then arms go second. Shoulder blades first, and then arms go second. Because here's what happens. If I just use my arms to do the exercise, all I'm getting is my delts. You see the difference? Here's the back of my shoulders doing the work, and then here are the dynamics of my shoulder girdle. So two completely different exercises. And the last one I want to give you is a fairly simple one, and it just, it doesn't really have a name, so just let me show you how it's done. So I'm going to take the same cable loop here, I'm going to reach out in front of me, right? So I'm going to reach out, I'm going to gently pull the shoulder blades together again, right? So a little bit of pressure on this, on my TheraBand here, shoulder blades together here, my neck is completely free, so I'm below shoulder height, and I'm going to bring the elbows back, I'm going to tilt up and push those elbows down, right? And extend and release, right? So it's here, so it's shoulder blades back and down, pull the shoulder blades together, pull the elbows back, tilt up, and press down and release. And here's what it looks like, right? So pay attention to the muscles that are being activated. So start here, so take some tension on the TheraBand, pull it out, shoulder blades intact, squeeze it back, tilt it up, press it down, up, and extend. So what I'm doing is coming into my I'm coming into my my rhomboids, I'm coming into my mid traps, my rotator cuff complex, coming into my lower traps, and I'm taking that whole junction, and you should be able to see as I pull back and down, what you should be able to see is, of course, that musculature drawing the energy back down here. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that my chest and my shoulders don't overpower, the anterior part of my chest and my shoulders don't overpower me and continuously pull me forward. So every training day, every day that I train, I always do a whole series of rotator cuff work every single training day. I do lots of rotational work, so I do a lot of wood choppers and cable work as part of my workout every single time I train. Not just a couple times, every single time I train. Because again, you got these two big ball and socket joints, of course, with the shoulder, and two big ball and socket joints here in the hip. And ball and socket joints mean there's some rotation. So we really need to look after these highly mobile and really intrinsically important parts of our body. Hopefully that serves, guys. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, just drop a comment or a query below the video.